Okay, if you're a developer who's been using AI, you know this feeling. You're caught between the hype, 90% of my code is AI generated, and the reality, which is often full of weird bugs, security holes, and code that just flat out doesn't work. Look, the way we're all building software with AI, it's changing, and it's changing fast. We're moving away from the chaos and towards something much more structured. So yeah, let's dive right into this.
This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? That whole process of just, throwing random prompts at an AI and hoping for the best, what people are starting to call vibe coding, it's fun for a quick script, but it's just not going to fly for any real professional work. You lose context, and the code becomes a nightmare to maintain.
So just how bad is it, really? Well, one developer actually ran an experiment. They decided to build a pretty simple landing page, just a few API integrations using that unstructured vibe coding method. The total time it took? A whopping painful 8 hours. But then, get this, they built the exact same project again, only this time using a structured Spec Driven method. And the result? 7 minutes. Just 7 minutes. I mean, that is the insane difference we're diving into today, the gap between a full day of frustration and a coffee break's worth of focused work. Okay, so let's put a name to this thing we're talking about. Vibe coding. And look, we've all been there, right? It's that back and forth conversational prompting that's actually great for knocking out a prototype or a quick little utility. But for production systems, it just creates this mountain of technical debt. The quality is all over the place, and good luck finding any documentation. So, what's the fix? Well, the solution that's popping up everywhere is a move to what's being called spec-driven development. The core idea is simple. We need to stop treating AI like some magic 8-ball and start treating it like a junior developer who needs very, very clear instructions. It's all about moving from vague hope to defining exactly what we want upfront. And that brings us to the official term for this, spec-driven development, or SDD. But here's what's really key here. It's a total mindset shift. The spec isn't just a document anymore. It becomes the executable blueprint. The code is just the final implementation of that spec. Your job literally changes from writing the code to writing an amazing spec. And look, this isn't just some high-level theory. It's a real practical workflow. First, you specify what you're building and why. Then you create a technical plan for how to build it. Next, the AI takes over and does the grunt work of implementation. And finally, you check its work against the original spec. It's a clear, repeatable, and sane process. Okay, so you're sold. You want to try this. Where do you even begin? Well, turns out there are 3 big open source players that have jumped into the ring to bring some order to this chaos. Each one has a totally different philosophy. We've got GitHub's Spec Kit, Open Spec, and the real heavyweight, BMAD. All right, first up, we've got GitHub Spec Kit. Think of this as the keep it simple option. It's kind of like the training wheels for getting into spec-driven development. It's a simple toolkit you use to steer the AI you're already using, with you, the developer, playing the role of the orchestra conductor. So when would you reach for Spec Kit? It's perfect for when you're starting a brand new greenfield project from scratch. It's super easy to get started. It works with the tools you already know, like Copilot or Claude. And hey, it's backed by GitHub, so you know it's not just going to vanish next week. It's ideal for a solo developer or a small team that wants a bit of structure without a massive learning curve. Okay, next up is Open Spec. Now, let's be real. Most of us aren't starting shiny new projects every single day, are we? We're stuck maintaining these big, complicated existing code bases. And that's exactly where Open Spec comes in. It was built from the ground up for those brownfield projects. And you know what's great about Open Spec? It's super minimal. We're literally just talking about a set of markdown files. It gives you this lightweight way to lock in what you intend to do before you start coding. And it doesn't force some heavy, complicated process onto your old legacy code. For modernizing an existing system, this is probably your best bet. And last but not least, we have BMAD. Now this is the I'm building the Death Star option. This is the big one. It's not just a toolkit. It's a full-blown framework that basically simulates an entire AI development team. So, you'd only pull out BMAD when you're working on something truly massive, like a huge enterprise-scale project. I mean, you've got different AI agents playing the roles of an analyst, a project manager, an architect, the whole shebang. It can handle crazy complexity across multiple repositories. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The setup overhead is no joke. All right, so we've met our 3 contenders. Now for the million-dollar question. Which one should you actually use? Let's break it down and put them head to head. Okay, this table breaks it down perfectly. If you've got existing code, Open Spec is your guy. It's low complexity, low overhead, easy. Starting a new project from scratch, Spec Kit is probably your sweet spot. Medium complexity, manageable workflow. And if you're building that Death Star, BMAD is your tool, but be ready for the high complexity and overhead that comes with it. But the really crucial difference? Who's in charge? With Open Spec and Spec Kit, it's you. With BMAD, it's you, and a whole team of AI agents. Okay. This all sounds amazing, right? A perfect structured future, but let's pump the brakes for a second. We have to be critical because not everyone is sold on this whole idea. In fact, there's a pretty vocal group of people saying this whole thing is, well, kind of BS.
Someone on Reddit put it pretty bluntly, arguing that this entire concept of writing a super detailed spec and just handing it off to an AI agent, well, it just doesn't work in the real world. So let's dig into why they think that.
So the first big problem is purely technical. It's called context drift. You know how you can't just give these LLMs a giant novel and expect them to remember page 1 by the time they get to the end? Same idea. The quality just tanks as you feed it more and more information, the results get weird, and you're just burning through tokens like crazy. The next argument is a bit more philosophical, but it's a really good one. Think about it. Code is deterministic. It does exactly what you write. But specs, they're written in human language. And language is always open for interpretation. You, me, and an AI could all read the same sentence and come away with slightly different ideas, which can lead to big problems. And the last big counter-argument is that this whole idea just doesn't mesh with how software actually gets built. Come on, we all know programming isn't this neat, linear thing where you follow a perfect plan from A to B. It's messy. It's about discovering the solution as you go, and trying to lock everything into a rigid spec upfront can completely kill that creative process. So where does that leave us? We've got these awesome new frameworks on one side and some really smart criticisms on the other. Is spec-driven development the future or just a fad? And the answer, like always, is probably somewhere in the middle. Maybe the real revolution here isn't about a specific framework at all, but about a change in our mindset. Look, the big takeaway here isn't that you have to go out and pick one of these frameworks tomorrow. It's about a shift in how we think. In a future driven by AI agents, the most valuable skills won't be about writing clever one-liners of code. The real A-plus skills are going to be thinking like an architect, being able to define a problem with crystal clarity, and having the sharp eye to look at what an AI spits out and say, nope, that's not right. And that really leaves us with this one giant final question. If writing a spec is the new coding, if that spec becomes the main thing that we humans work on, then what does it even mean to be a developer anymore? Our role is changing from someone who just produces code to someone who is an architect, a guide for the AI, and the ultimate judge of quality. So what does that future look like for you?